Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Ironbark podcast. I am your host, Epion, and today I have a very special announcement to make. I am the media now. Yes, that's correct. You heard it correctly. I am the media now. Elon Musk officially said this on X, formerly known as Twitter, that the people who post there are now the media. I am now the media. I'm one of the best, most reliable sources of information on the internet when it comes to nature and wildlife. Believe me, because I tell you. That's how accurate I have to be. I don't have to be any more accurate than that. I don't have to prove myself to you. You just have to take that in. Now, I'm kind of joking, but I'm also kind of serious. In some way, shape, or form, I am a media outlet. I do have a podcast. I do post online. I do share information. I spread awareness. I give insight and opinion. There's no real differentiation between myself and the media. So Elon Musk has a point. I don't know what a qualifier would be to be considered media. Do I need a special license? I don't know. I think the licensing thing is weird because then I think that can kind of be used to control what you talk about, what you can and cannot say. And I thought there's supposed to be freedom of the press. It's kind of a weird, little touchy subject. But anyway, moving on. What do we have to talk about today? Well, I have some news for you. It's the best news. It's the greatest news. It's news not quite everybody will get to hear because you have to tune into this podcast to hear. We're going to talk about a new species of human. It's extinct, but it's been discovered. We're going to talk about a white killer whale, aka an orca. We're going to talk about some Chernobyl dogs, or maybe they're wolves. I'm not too sure. They're dogs. They're definitely dogs. They're beautiful dogs. We're going to talk about that. So let's just get into it here. All right. So this study was published in Nature. It's one of my more favorite studies publishers out there. It's one of the best, if not the best. Sometimes they don't get everything right. They have to retract things and it's not good. It's not very good. They mess up bigly sometimes when they don't get the... Anyway. So I wonder if this has a good summary here. In lay terms, it does not. Okay. So, if you are not familiar with the terms Homo floresiensis, Homo louisiensis, Homo longi, there's a new one, Homo juliensis. All right. This is kind of being found in Eastern Asia. Not lots of remains, but like some fossil evidence to support that, there were all these other species of humans. Another example would be, I suppose, Neanderthal. They're all extinct now. I'm curious to know if anyone has any sort of DNA. Any humans still have DNA? Because right now, some Europeans have like upwards of 3% Neanderthal DNA. I wonder if we know what the rest of if we know what any of these DNA structures look like and if they're present in modern humans anywhere in the world. That would be interesting. But the thing is, a lot of these are fossils and I don't think they're missing DNA, so we can't really extract anything from it. So that's super cool. So those fossils are being found there. I'm going to show an image from this study. This study was done by Christopher J. Bay, and it's a Chinese name. I'm sorry if I'm butchering this. Jiao Wu. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's super cool. Basically, they find these bones, they differentiate from other bones that they compare them to, other fossils. Some people say, oh, you could just group those into one group. It's all the same species. It's like, no, well, it's actually like a different species. It's not Floriensis, it's something else. So, this is them trying to make sense of it. They obviously need a little bit more data for some of it, but it's interesting. It's something to look into. I'm going to try to post a picture that was shared in this study. The next thing we're going to talk about, and I'm just going to read the summary from the paper here. And this paper was by Megan N. Dillon, Rachel Thomas, and Matthew Breen. Those are the authors of the article published in Canine Medicine and Genetics. Population Dynamics and Genome-Wide Selection Scan for Dogs in Chernobyl. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Okay. So the abstract here. I don't know if I should read the abstract or just the plain English summary. The plain English summary seems quite longer. I'm going to assume... let's do the plain English one. Wildlife populations can be greatly affected by disasters, whether they are natural or man-made. Disasters that result in contamination or habitat destruction can result in population declines or influence wildlife adaptation to these adverse environmental changes. The Chernobyl nuclear power plant disaster released an enormous quantity of ionizing radiation into the surrounding environment. Abandonment of military and industrial facilities, as well as subsequent cleanup and remediation efforts, resulted in further environmental contamination by a variety of non-nuclear radioactive toxic metals, chemicals, and compounds. Earlier studies investigated local wildlife responses to some of these exposures. In this study, we addressed the impact of the disaster on the population structure of free-breeding dogs that live around the power plant and the nearby city of Chernobyl. In particular, we use genetic approaches to understand how these two populations of dogs interact and their breed composition, so that we may begin to understand how these populations have adapted over 30 years of exposure in harsh environments. In this fundamental study, we determined that while the two local populations of dogs are separated by only 16 kilometers, they have very low rates of interpopulation migration. We also detected genetic evidence that suggests that these populations may have adapted to exposures faced over many generations. In future studies, we aim to determine if the genetic variation detected is indeed a biological response to enable survival after multi-generational exposures of radiation, heavy metals, organic toxins, or other environmental contaminants. In this way, we then understand how the impact of environmental catastrophes such as Chernobyl nuclear disaster can influence animal populations. So I'm just going to read the conclusion now. Our genome scan highlighted outlier loci within or near genomic regions under directional selection, possibly in response to the multi-generational exposure phase. In defining the population structure and identifying candidate genes for these dog populations, we take steps towards understanding how these types of prolonged exposures have impacted these populations. So I didn't read the entire study, but from what I gather from that conclusion, when they say may, these dogs, I think they say may, possibly in response to multi-generational exposure. The only way you could really determine that is if you were looking at every single generation up until that point, which I guess now, if they're just starting to do that now, this would be the starting point to see if there's any more progress from where they are now till further down the road with multiple generations. It's an interesting thought. I bet you they wish they started sooner to kind of get an answer to that. What else can we talk about here? The next story is Frosty the orca. He's a white orca. He's slightly pale. He's off the coast of California. People love seeing him. He's a cool dude. He likes to chill. He likes to hang out. He likes to scare people. The theory behind why he's white is because he's inherited a rare immune condition that is characterized by pale colored skin. But yeah, what do you think of that, folks? You know, it's not quite like a spirit animal. He's white, but he's not like super white like those moose and other animals that have that. How does it feel knowing that I'm the media? I am the media now. Always have been. Bet you didn't realize that either, huh? So I'm going to jump into what have I been posting on X? Like, let's see the ramblings of a lunatic, what they look like. All right, so on this Wildlife Wednesday, I posted a video. I do this every Wednesday. Basically, the video is of a coyote pulling out one of the vital organs of a mule deer. The mule deer was roadkill. It was on the side of the road that I filmed this. I slow it down and I zoom in and try to get a shot at it. I'm not quite sure what it is. This video didn't get that many likes. It wasn't very popular. People don't like seeing the more raw side of nature. They don't. They like cutesy tootsy animal videos, which I usually put up, but every now and then I consider it lucky when I see an animal behavior like this because it happens in just a blink of a moment. It's only a blink of a moment. You can find an animal grazing all the time. That's what they do. They just graze and scavenge. They just look for food and they just eat all the time. They catch them fighting, a little bit more harder, but it happens pretty frequently during mating season, during rut. Animal behaviors. When you start watching animals, you want to catch those unique, rare behaviors that only happen in fraction of moments. Today I posted an older video from when I was riding a ferry in the mountains. I kind of make fun of it. I say, if fairies aren't real, how do you explain this? It's a play on words, fairy and fairy. Another cool shot that I took from on top of a mountain, or at least pretty high up on it, that captures a pretty large portion of Lake Abraham, and you can kind of see, I think that's Mount Michener in the background. I got paid this week. I got paid on X. $23.83 or 86 cents USD. In Canadian, that's like $33. I don't know. There was a tsunami warning. That's why I post about that, because that is nature. And I don't want people to get harmed. So that was off the coast of San Francisco where they thought that was going to hit. But I guess it was just a false alarm. We had December 5th as World Soil Day. I think that also would have been World Cheetah Day as well, but I didn't post about that. World Soil Day, it's a kind of weird one. I feel like World Soil Day might be a political day. It seems like it has like a lot of politics behind it. They talk about it seems like it's like global warming type stuff, sort of. It talks about like, it seems like it's targeting farmers negatively. It's like, oh, they're using too many nitrogens. So I put my own spin on it. I put my own media spin on it. All right. So I said it was a day to raise awareness for regenerative farming, which is good, which is something we need to do. It's good, as well as creating awareness for improper disposal of xenobiotic chemicals typically caused by improper disposal of waste in natural soil environments by bad actors. So basically, maybe there's a big company dumping oil or toxins that, they don't want to pay big money to get rid of because they're like, oh, you know what? If we get caught doing it, the fine isn't as expensive as it would be to dispose of it properly. And that's sort of like the song and dance that's been going on forever with why companies don't dispose of things properly. So I thought that was more of a good point to make. Spotify, I posted my Spotify for some reason. I probably shouldn't have. I should probably put that on my my alternate account. I posted about World Wildlife Day because they had a new report. 742 new species identified in the Congo Basin. A new species of coffee plant, right? That's pretty interesting. New reptiles, insects, turtles, snakes, you name it, dragonflies. It's all there. Check that out. It's super cool. Super cool. I couldn't talk too much about it. It's not my article. I was just sharing somebody else's, like a repost. I posted when I went cave exploring, and in one of the pictures, you can actually see. I actually found a bushy-tailed rat in here, but I don't have a picture of it. There's like this white fungus-looking thing, but it's not a fungus on the wall. It's called moon milk. It's like white and stringy looking. Moon milk is a calcite deposit found in caves and other underground environments that is often associated with a complex microbial community. The microorganisms in moon milk include xenophiles, which are organisms that thrive in extreme environments. And I think that kind of stuff has been studied by NASA previously. December 4th was Wildlife Conservation Day. That is like my day. That is the day we spread awareness. So I basically post about spreading wildlife conservation and awareness. not only just maintaining populations of animals, but also like rewilding to some degree. A lot of the animals in North America have previously existed in a greater dynamic of environments. Like we used to have plains grizzlies, like all these different things. And it wasn't even really that long ago. And we've kind of, we're like, oh, they're still grizzlies, is okay. It was like, we don't necessarily want there to be plain grizzlies because that sounds terrifying. But it was likely a subspecies. Like today, we probably would have considered a subspecies, would have looked at it and been like, oh, look at the coloration, it's slightly different. Its behaviors are slightly different. That they would have done like some genetic analysis and been like, oh, well, it differentiates genetically just a little bit. So I think it is now. So my whole emphasis is sort of like rewilding is sort of important to kind of get things back up to par. Another thing is that if you constantly restrict wild animals, like a population, to like one that's just successful at reproducing and maintaining like a steady stock number, that animal, in effect, that population doesn't grow outward. It doesn't venture into like new territory where it can possibly adapt new behaviors or physiological adaptations to then become a new species or subspecies of that animal. And then you just don't have sort of like this wildlife growth. And then when you don't have that wildlife growth, when there's sudden changes to the environment, maybe something like a forest fire, a flood, we can go crazy with it if we want, like a meteorite strike, something like that. That population would then in effect be wiped out, and it's gone. That like the caribou and Banff were wiped out by avalanches. There was just 2 small herds left at one point, even through rewilding. You have to let nature kind of be abundant, because although there's like a sustainable population, it's also very fragile. And there's been massive forest fires, right? And it's possible that they run into, like, these animals, even though they're trying to get out, they run into a choke point and then they're fucked. And then they're just like, they can't get out. And then that herd gets wiped out. So there needs to be some thought and focus into conservation when it comes to understanding that these populations probably need to be given a little bit of grace in order to adapt more, to possibly venture out more and become like a subspecies. We have to encourage sort of like adaptation and evolution, as opposed to just like trying to keep everything static all the time. And that's what it feels like. We're just trying to keep wildlife static, and I don't like that. Posted a really nice picture of Emerald Lake. It's almost like perfectly reflective, except there was a bit of a ripple in the lake, so it's kind of distorted a bit, but that's a little unedited. I posted November 2nd by accident. It was supposed to be December 2nd. So December 2nd, we celebrate National Mutt Day as well as World Pollution Day, Pollution Prevention Day. Obviously, World Pollution Prevention Day can get politicized pretty heavily. But let's talk about Mutt Day here. So there's actually 2 days out of the year that are we observe National Mutt Day. And I just suppose that's because dogs are awesome. But it's a reminder to consider adoption. This prevents strays and feral dogs from happening or being more abundant. It gives them a home. It's good for them. It's good for the local ecology as well. They're not running down deer and stuff or out competing coyotes or wolves, though they probably wouldn't, but they could technically if there's more of them. And for World Pollution Day, well, nobody likes litter and messing up the beautiful trails on your hikes and your national parks. So just a general reminder to pick up after yourselves and maybe like be a dork like me and pack a trail trash out bag so you're picking up other people's litter, but you're bringing it out back with you. World Pollution Prevention Day obviously sounds like it's like, oh, stop using gas vehicles. Like it's probably another political day, but like Elon said, I'm the media now, so guess what? World Pollution Day now means stop fucking littering, even though that's basically Earth Day. But I digress from that. Posted a nice picture of the road less traveled. It's a nice little dirt road, leads to like a lake with a mountain in the background. It's not perfectly centered, it's not perfectly lined, but it's not a composition photo, so it's just an all raw photo. Very beautiful in my opinion. And that takes us back to last week's podcast. That's all I posted. Basically just do one post a day. I try to stay relevant, but it doesn't always work out because nobody cares when you're a small content creator. Nobody cares when you're a small content creator. Nobody cares when you post on X. Yeah, you got premium plus, but nobody likes your shit. That's the problem with X. You can post something that's pretty informative, compelling, knowledgeable, but it's like other content creators do not like rewarding effort very often because it makes them look like they're lazy, and then it ups the standard. I've bitched about this enough. You don't need to hear it anymore. But anyway, I think that's a wrap. That's a beautiful wrap. We have a great podcast today. I hope you all enjoyed it, because I did. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Thank you, everybody who likes, follows. Wait. No. Wait, I'm not done. I am not done. I got a fucking bone. I got a fucking bone to pick. This is a big fucking bone to pick, all right? This is a grievance. This is a fucking grievance. Okay, I got paid this week on X, so that's pretty fucking cool, all right? But, okay, when I originally signed up for Premium Plus, or Premium, whatever it was at the fucking time, I was told, or it was said, like it was part of, like when I read it, it was like, oh, ad revenue share. Okay, you'll get ad revenue based off how much interactions you get and how many ads are posted on your shit. Okay, cool. And I'm thought, oh, I'm a harmless brand. Like, I just talk about nature, wildlife, and animals and all that cool shit. So outdoor brands would probably advertise on my stuff and not have to worry about the politics. Little did they know. That didn't work out. Then X went to creator ad revenue share, which is kind of seeming like a robbing Peter to pay Paul type scenario. Not really sure if that's going to work out. Maybe not. I don't know. It's interesting. If all the small guys leave and it's only big guys left, how are you going to pay them, right? That's what it kind of turns into. It's like, it's the aspiring people that never amount to anything just going to keep paying the pockets of the people that are big? And is it just going to be a cyclical cycle of people just trying to get in? It kind of seems Ponzi, right? Top down. And then that's what's happening now. It's sort of working for me. I don't know if I'm balancing the books quite enough yet. But anyway, you were able to subsidize this. So this is where I thought this was cool. Was if you were not popular enough to get a lot of ad revenue, you could have been popular enough with a small group of people. You know, even if you only there was a thing called subscriptions, and you only needed 500 followers to, submit for that. So I had my 500 followers, so I put in. This was in June of 2023. I was like, beep boop 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 boop, beep boop boop. I put it in. It's like, okay, you're pending approval. You should hear back within 2 weeks or some shit like that. You know how much time fucking went by? 2.5 years. No, not 2. 1.5 years. From June 2023 to like this week. And then they're like, yeah, we've changed the parameters for getting approved for subscriptions. Now you need 2,000 verified followers, not just followers. They have to be verified. That means they have to be other content creators with blue checks. That's kind of difficult because, one, everyone has main character syndrome where they're the content creator and they want people to be following them as opposed to them following people. And no one really actually, I think, really likes other people's content. They just want people to like their content. So it's a struggle. But, I have a decent amount of verified followers. Not 2,000, because that would mean every single follower I have is verified, which is not the case. So that's kind of interesting. So now I have to get 2,000 verified followers. It's kind of a cheese off because it's like there are people who only had 500 followers who got approved who still don't have 2,000 verified followers, but they're grandfathered in, which means I could have been grandfathered in had they approved my subscriptions sooner. I feel like I've been robbed. I've been paying all this time for Premium Plus on X, with like one of the incentives to buy Premium Plus is like, oh yeah, you can get subscriptions. And subscriptions would actually be an easier way to subsidize your costs, because you don't need to have big numbers and views to like get that ad revenue. It's not based off of like a numbers game. It's like you could have this like a small but dedicated following and be self-sustaining. Now, there is a little bit of devil in the details, because you need to surpass, I think, $50. I think it depends on your region. Maybe it's $50 or $25 in subscriptions in order to cash out. So if you're only charging $2 a month, okay, you're going to need 25 people at $2 a month. Then you could get your payout like once a month, because then it would be $50. But 25 followers out of 2,000 doesn't, with the dynamics on X, it does seem kind of like that would be harder, because it doesn't seem like, it seems like the only people who could subscribe to you are other verified accounts. I don't know if this is true. And if it is true, that's kind of silly. I think people who are unverified should be able to subscribe to content creators as well. Because I feel like that's how like the small but dedicated like little cult following guys can kind of pay the bills and stuff like that. I wish they had it. I wish the barrier of entry was easier, because it doesn't make sense to make it about numbers, right? So with Twitch, you only need 50 followers, and then you can sell subscriptions. This is my point. Like, it's kind of like, why is X not even competitive market-wise? It should be competitive with the rest of the market. Like, I should just need like 500. I thought was like, okay, like, oh yeah, 500 followers. Like, but now you have to have 2,000 verified accounts, which basically means 2,000 people that pay $8 a month. That also means like they have to maintain activity. Like, at any point, those people could like stop paying, fall on hard times. So realistically, you're going to need like 2,500 minimum just to have like that nice cushion. I don't know. I digress a bit though. It's interesting. I feel like the rug was kind of pulled out from underneath me a bit. I complained about it when they announced it on the X creators main account, and it turns out like a lot of other creators followed me because I was complaining about it. But anyway, I hate how they're kind of like squeezing out people who either don't want to pay for it on principle because all other social media is free, or people who can't afford it, because those are the people that have supported me from the very beginning. And I want to be able to offer them content. I want them to feel like, maybe I can't afford $8 a month, but I can support this creator I listen to every week for $2 a month, and I can get, participate in exclusive content that he offers through that subscription fee. I feel like they're missing the mark here. And I feel like a lot of this stems from they're listening to the creators that are very charming, manipulative, very like analytic focused, and they're just trying to like create the least amount of content possible and gain the most amount of reward. So they're always offering these suggestions and stuff that are beneficial to that sort of method of content creation. And because some of the employees are now sort of engaging in that manner themselves with these people and getting like cozy up with them, you're seeing a massive detriment on the platform in terms of the content that you normally see. And Elon was big on this when he first purchased it, and he compared this to other platforms where he said a lot of the other platforms you have a lot of regretted user minutes, whether you're just like doom scrolling through Facebook and you're seeing just dribble fake nonsense and scams and schemes, or whether you're just on TikTok and definitely scrolling and you don't see anything meaningful. You might have a couple of chuckles and then it falls short after a while. He called these regretted user minutes. I have bad news. Every time I read a one-word sentence asking me if I like pineapple on pizza, hold on, I got a list of them. Would you rather hang out with a crazy cat lady or a jacked bald guy? Is a hot dog a sandwich? Why are you on X on Friday night? What other social media platforms do you post on? So do you prefer forgiveness or revenge? Reply to this post. I will not explain why. You will understand later. Like, people post stuff like this, or they put like little like stupid math questions and this and that, and they're just like, it's not content. It's just exploitive in nature. They just know, and then people all reply to each other. They're in these little circle groups. If that's what X becomes, it should just be news, art, meaningful opinion, points of view, perspectives, sentiments, and then you can get into like the personal stuff where there's like the creators like sharing like personal moments and stuff like that. But when it's just sort of like this like blatant like it's just meant to extort money and views and replies and likes. And yes, I understand that's the kind of the basis of all content creation is to get that. But there's like a merit system. It's like you make a video about wildlife. Unless it's good, people aren't going to like it. They're going to be like, oh, he tried. They might give you like a petty like. But if it's not good, you don't get rewards for it. The thing is, these posts aren't good. They're just bait. They're just like basically manipulating the human response system where there's like people just want to be like beep boop boop boop. It's cheap, it's lazy. Every time I see one of them, I get a little bit frustrated. I say, this is a waste of my time. Why am I seeing this in my feed? Why is this being, and I don't even interact with them. And to be completely honest, I hit the little 3 dots and I say, see less of this post. So if you're someone out there, you follow me and you're another content creator and you're listening to this podcast and you do that kind of stuff, it's a free world. You can do whatever you want. You can create whatever kind of content you want. But for myself, it's not the content I want to see. So I will try to limit it as much as I can. Because I want to see the other creators that I follow who actually are trying very hard and making very meaningful content. I want to see them more on my feed. And I want to be able to throw them a like or a comment more often instead of seeing this dribble drool. No offense, you can make what you want, but I'm going to feel how I want about it as well. That's the give and take about content creation, is like, you have the freedom to post it, but I also have the freedom to ignore it. So anyway, folks, I've ranted long enough. My voice is basically gone because I've been in multiple spaces today, I'm pretty sure. I've been doing voice impressions. So my voice is a little bit off. That's why. So I'm going to end by giving the mic to a very special somebody. Hello, everyone. My fellow Americans. It is me, Robert F. Kennedy. For far too long, Big Pharma has been poisoning the American people by putting food coloring in the Fruit Loops. See you all in January. I don't know. That's all I got. I'm sorry for putting you guys through that. Anyway, it's been a blast. Cheers.